Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for BOMA Show and Tell. We're excited to have you all. We're going to have two speakers that are going to kind of start off the conversation. Brandon Greason with MTS Contracting and Kolbie Jacoby with SERVPRO, Olathe, and Lenexa. So basically what everybody's going to do is just kind of share something new that's happening in their industry or their particular field that would be of interest to everyone. And then we do also have a special guest, a local celebrity, if you will. Mark DeShepper of Echo GPR was on Unsolved Mysteries, and it's the new reboot that was on Netflix. So he's going to tell us a little bit about the episode just briefly, but tell us about the ground penetrating radar program system that he uses that was featured in the show. So let's first start with Brandon. Brandon shared something cool with us during one of our previous Connections and Coffees, and he'll share with you guys today.
All right. So I'm with MTS. We are an exterior commercial restoration company. So we fix masonry and concrete, do waterproofing, sealing, cleaning, caulking, all that kind of stuff on commercial buildings. So the thing that I had shared previously was about the use of, it's called geofoam with concrete. And I had posted a picture on my LinkedIn page probably about a month ago from a project that we were doing at Northeast High School, where we tore out some old steps, and there was an old basement area underneath those steps that was no longer needed or in use. And so what we ended up doing was filling in that area with foam. But let me back up for a minute. So the restoration projects that we do with our concrete are usually involve tearing things out and then pouring it back. So we don't often do new concrete pours. We have before. This past fall, we did a concrete pour for the Amazon distribution center, but most of the time it's taking things out and then putting it back. And that's caused by weathering, freeze thaw. We use lots of salt around here. So as I said, we were at Northeast High School. There was a set of stairs that were in bad need of repair. They were cracked, spalled, crumbling, so it's just not safe. And as I said, there was area underneath those steps that was no longer needed. So at the recommendation of an engineer, which most of the projects we do are guided by an engineer in some capacity, they decided that we would fill that area with foam. And so these were very large, like refrigerator-sized pieces of foam. And they can be cut with a hot wire. So it's basically a wire that's on a piece of, it kind of looks like a saw, and you heat it up and it will slice right through the foam without any problem. So that's what we did, and we put it in there, and there's quite a few advantages to using this foam. It's really lightweight. So it can be cost effective. It is more expensive than traditional methods of fill, such as gravel or dirt, but you're going to save money in other areas because you can literally pick up one of the, anyone on here could pick up one of the pieces of the foam and then go place it where you need it to be, instead of taking trucks to get gravel and then figuring how you're going to get that gravel into an area that you need to fill. It's easy to maneuver. There's a lot of load reduction when you're doing that. It's 99% lighter than natural filler. So it simplifies construction on tight job sites and steep slopes. So like this area where we were doing the steps at Northeast was very tight because there were brick walls on both sides. And if we would have done a traditional suspended floor, we would have had to tie into the brick walls somehow, which would have put a strain on the walls, which would not have been good. It's also very strong. So the one we use there, it could hold up to 15 pounds per square inch. So it's just as strong, and it doesn't settle like gravel usually does when you put that under concrete. It also absorbs very little water, which is helpful. So that was one job that we did. And then the other job that we did was at UMKC. and we were filling in a lecture hall, which was really interesting. So we again had to use, it was the recommendation of an engineer, and we used large pieces of foam, but these pieces were 4x8, so they weren't quite as big as the refrigerator size ones that we'd used at Northeast. But that was 9 feet that we were filling in there, so that was quite a bit. And I actually
Brandon, was that a sloped auditorium floor that you were leveling?
Yes. I actually have some pictures. Can I share my screen?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, hold on.
It will show everything that's on your screen.
I know, and I
So
don't have
off
it.
anything.
I don't have it set up already on my computer.
That's okay. You can pull it up in a second if you want. We can come back to pictures.
Yeah, that's fine. So the last thing I would say is that it's just, it's not really a new method, but we've done a few jobs now that have used it. And I had found an article that I also linked in my LinkedIn post that talked about it. And there were some places like a parking garage in Chicago where it was kind of an underground parking garage like Barney Alice's downtown here. And they wanted to put a park on top. And so they used the geofoam so that it's a lighter load so that you don't have all that pressing down on top of the parking garage. And it's really an impressive project. And then it's also used around foundations and that kind of thing, just because it doesn't absorb the water. So I will work on sharing my screen, and then you can come back to me in a minute.
Cool. That's awesome. Like, I was excited to learn about that the first time I saw it. Like, I had no idea that they were using foam as an appropriate filler and that it can hold so much weight. So thank you for sharing that. If anybody has any questions, Barry, do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Brandon, is it the same stuff? I had a company come in where we would typically either mud jack or something like that on a foundation. And they actually they drilled holes and used an injectable foam. And it was strong enough it actually raised the foundation. It was a lot cheaper than doing a mud jack. Is it similar to that?
I don't know. We don't do much mud jacking. I would imagine it's probably the same thought process, because this is a really hard foam and it can hold a lot of weight. And so I would imagine it's probably the same thought process, that it's going to be able to lift that load without settling too much.
Yeah, I would have never believed it till I saw it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a lot cheaper than having it jacked up and mud jacked and all that.
Great.
Thanks.
Very cool. Okay, Dave.
We just wrapping up a project where we used that we had to put in a big mat foundation for structural support across this whole building footprint. And then when it came time to put in the finished floor elevation, which is a couple feet higher, we used that rigid styrofoam insulation for that fill. So yeah, it worked great.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. Did you find your pictures, Brandon?
Well, I'm on a Mac, and it's making me open my system preferences and do all that, and I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to go to.
Okay. We'll let Kolbie go, and then when you pull yours up, if you're able to, you can share. Oh, Mark, you got a question?
Yeah, Brandon, real quick question on that. Do you know approximately the strength equivalent in PSI to concrete that is?
The article that I had read, I don't know your answer exactly, but the foam can have strength up to 2,678 per square foot. So that's, okay, foot instead of PSI, but.
Because we've worked with some of that, Barry had brought up the mud jacking, the foam, yeah, stuff, and I know some of those foams can get recorded in excess of 5,000 or 6,000 PSI. So I was just kind of curious on the strength of these foam blocks.
Yeah.
Super foam. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing. Okay,
sure.
Kolbie.
So I had shared with you guys about our certified SERVPRO cleaned program. So SERVPRO, my local franchise, we've always done biohazard cleanup. So when COVID hit, we were pretty quick to start doing cleaning for COVID. SERVPRO Corporate kind of put out some guidelines for that, working with the CDC and helping us all kind of follow the same guidelines. And then they came up with this Certified SERVPRO Cleaned program where we can go in and kind of do preventative cleaning for some offices and do it more often with high touch surfaces. And we had kind of talked about electrostatic fogging and some of the different equipment that we're using that we typically wouldn't use when we were doing biohazard cleanup. So just kind of what the electrostatic fogging is and the different chemicals that we use in it and how it works. What we use, the main ones that we're using are Vanquish and SERVPRO Oxide. So they're both approved by the CDC. And when they're in the electrostatic foggers, I think how it works is that when it's sprayed out, it creates a positive charge and it'll kind of cling onto particles in the air or on surfaces that are negatively charged. And then making sure that you give them enough dwell time. I think with the Vanquish, it's 10 minutes that it needs to be damp to kill the virus. And then we go in and then wipe those down with more Vanquish to kind of clean those surfaces. Sorry.
Kolbie. Oh, cute cameo with the dog. Okay, so I need you to tell everybody about dwell time because Kolbie taught me about dwell time a few weeks ago. So share so that everybody knows.
So dwell time is with almost all cleaners, even the Clorox wipes that you probably have in your home if you were able to get a hold of any before they got sold out. On the back of them, it says that it kills 99.9% of all viruses, but that's only if you give it enough dwell time. Dwell time meaning it needs to stay wet that entire time. So if you have a Clorox wipe and you're wiping off your counter and you're wiping really quickly and you're not staying kind of in one area and it dries without the length of the dwell time, it's not guaranteeing that 99.9%. It'll probably kill some of it, but you need to make sure that the particular area that you're cleaning stays wet for the entire amount of dwell time. So when we are going into offices and spraying or, wiping down those high touch surface areas like doorknobs and all of that, we make sure that those stay damp for the amount of the dwell time to make sure that the virus is killed.
Yikes. Thank you. I was definitely guilty of not allowing for dwell time. I was like, oh, I wiped it. If you've wiped it, it's clean, right? It is clean. It is not sanitary at that point. So thank you. Share more. Continue.
That was really it. It's just that we do have that program. We have the little SERVPRO certified shields that we're putting up in windows and on doors for local businesses. Out to restaurants or grocery stores because they are worried about it and feel better when a business has been cleaned by a third party. What they're nervous about is that the typical janitorial companies or the people within the business don't have the training that a third party company like SERVPRO would have. So they feel more comfortable going into those offices, those businesses, when they see that there's a shield up there with a date saying that it was last cleaned. It just makes people feel more comfortable. So we're just trying to help, a lot of local businesses get some people back in there by providing a cleaning where we can go in a couple of times a week, once a week, whatever that business really feels comfortable with, sometimes every day. So across the country, the SERVPRO franchises are doing that.
Well, you guys know my husband is a firefighter and they actually had somebody that tested positive on one of his shifts. The shift before him at his fire station. And I asked him, because I knew a little bit to be dangerous, that Kolbie had told me about what happened. He told me they're using that electrostatic thing. They have somebody come to the fire station when that happens and they spray that. And he was like, yeah, they have to wait like an hour or something to wipe it down. I don't know how long it really was, but yeah, interesting. They are using that in places.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have questions about that? What those kind of cleanings look like or anything? Yeah. Okay. Let's get another share. Mark, do you want to share with us now? I know, everybody's dying to know. We want to know what it was like to be on Unsolved Mysteries and tell them about GPR. I was super impressed when Mark joined. He told me what he did and I was like, oh, very cool. So share.
Well, I was just kind of joining. I'm trying to be a little bit more involved now that I've got a little bit more free time. So I don't want to take away from Brandon or Kolbie's time by any means. But yeah, we were, what was it, last Wednesday for coffee on the Zoom meeting for BOMA. And Crystal said, share something. I said, well, you know, one of the cool things, if anyone's seen the new Netflix series, Unsolved Mysteries, you have to get through the first 5 episodes, but on episode 6, there was an episode called Missing Witness, and we got called in by the production crew of Unsolved Mysteries. Had been talking with them for almost 2 years about this, off and on. You know, you talk and then you don't hear anything for 9 months. Had to do down in Dent County, which for those of you that are not familiar with Dent County, it's in Missouri, a little bit past Fort Leonard Wood. So if you guys know where Fort Leonard Wood is, and an unsolved case of a girl that she went missing and had, so I will not do it justice. But yeah, towards the very end of the 45-minute episode, I got maybe about 20 or 30 seconds of screen time. But yeah, they had us do a GPR, ground penetrating radar scan of an area that they thought might where the dog was buried or something. But some family members said, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, that area. And so they kind of went, maybe this is where Lena Chapin is buried, the girl that was missing, Lena. And so we went out and we did a scan and we found an anomaly, but it was a cow pasture and it was in between 4 trees. So I fully told them off, it's amazing how much hits the cut room floor, because they probably have about 5 or 6 hours of footage of me doing stuff out there, and what, 20 or 30 seconds makes the show. But yeah, we found an anomaly, and then they went out and they dug, and I told the detective, I don't think you're going to find anything here, but at least we're ruling it out. And yeah, it was very interesting. It's a whole lot of hurry up and wait, and when you deal with TV production, was something new that in my 15 years of experience, I've not really experienced to that level of production. I've done stuff here locally, you know, TV5, Channel 9. They've done some stories on us, but nothing to this level.
It was very cool. I definitely watched your episode this weekend, and you don't have to, the beauty of Netflix, you do not have to wait through all of those episodes.
Oh.
I skipped right towards yours and watched it. And yeah, you're on there for like 20 seconds, but I had no idea what your process looked like. So it was really cool to see that you're like, I don't know, it looked like a machine, kind of like a lawnmower, but smaller, yeah, that you were pushing over the ground.
It's like a 3-wheeled baby jogging stroller is what it is. And that's our deeper utility. You know, most frequently what we use that for is looking for like abandoned fuel tanks on properties, utilities, that kind of thing, when we're looking that deep. But yeah, then all of a sudden, yeah, in the last month, I get to do a cemetery in Liberty, and then the Netflix thing and we did this last summer. So I had this non-disclosure. I couldn't, only my wife knew about it and a couple coworkers, because they knew I was gone for that day. But yeah, I couldn't tell anyone, family, nobody about it. And so it was kind of weird. Like the emails from people are just very hit and miss. Like, you know, you don't hear anything from someone, then like a week later, someone goes, was that you on Netflix? I go, yeah, it was.
It was. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have any questions about GPR? I'm very intrigued by this process. Okay. We're ready for another share. Who has something good? Samantha, I think you were the next ally that joined. Hello.
That was perfect timing too, because I just got the dogs set up with their peanut butter and their Kong treats, so they're going to be quiet while I talk.
Perfect. Samantha just got 2 new beautiful dogs.
I did. We got 2 white shepherds from the shelter. So we've had them for about 2.5 weeks. So they're still very much learning what to do and what not to do. Anyway.
Banners.
So for us, the biggest show and tell, I guess, right now is going to be talking about indoor air quality. That's kind of the hot button. And I think it'll continue to be a hot button for a long time. Unfortunately, we kind of live in a world where we've ignored the quality of our indoor air, even though we spend 90% of our time inside. So we don't really, we haven't really paid attention from the commercial world on how bad or how good our indoor air quality is. So product-wise, UV lighting is a pretty hot topic right now. Unfortunately, because of that, the lead time on UV lighting installs can be pretty deep. It can be anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks before they can get product in. But what that does is as the air passes through the light, the UV technology sanitizes the space and it sanitizes the air as it flows through it. There's a couple different types of technology out there that do various different types of things when it comes to UV. But the thing you have to remember with UV is that you have to maintain the bulbs, because the bulbs won't necessarily go out before they lose their intensity. And that intensity from the bulb is what really kills the mold, bacteria, fungus, viruses, all that stuff. So UV is pretty popular right now, and we're looking at a lot of jobs, and it's kind of exciting to see people actually focus on indoor air quality because of the impact that it has on your floor and the human health. Your productivity goes up, sick days go down. There's a ton of information out there on the health of your building and how it affects your workforce.
We actually have 2 programs coming up that are related to what you were talking about. The first one is at the beginning of August, and it's a session on UVC lighting, in particular to coronavirus, but I think it's like an overview of what Samantha is describing. And then the second program I believe it's November, for our November luncheon, which might end up being a webinar, you guys know, that is the well building standard. And I believe that a portion of that does talk about the wellness of your building air.
Yeah, so any LEED standards or well building standards or anything that goes to green or sustainability standards, indoor air quality is a huge portion of that. And you have to hit those standards before you can even think about applying and getting those certifications.
Is that a new technology, or is that something that's been going on for a long time?
It's not new. UV light, so ionization is a newer technology, but UV lighting's been around since the 80s. I mean, there's a ton of research on it. ASHRAE fully supports it. It's mostly been used either in hospitals, so like surgery centers, surgery rooms. There's actually a doctor, I can't remember where he's at, but it's in a burn unit, who whenever he does surgery, he actually operates with UV lights on in the operating room to help with infection on large scale burn patients. So it's been around a long time. We just haven't made it commercially available, mostly because we've ignored the benefits of having a healthy indoor air quality environment.
Right. And we haven't really necessarily been in a pandemic situation where it's like critical at this point that you're maintaining those systems.
We're almost being forced to address it. We are being forced to address it right now. Whereas before, as long as you were somewhat healthy, a little mold in the air doesn't really hurt anybody. It kind of helps your immune system, but it definitely, especially when we get into cold and flu season, because a lot of, coronavirus has taken the news right now because it is what it is, but the flu season still is very bad, and it can run rampant in a building. We all know, when everybody gets sick on a certain floor and then all of a sudden 15 of 30 people are gone one week and the other 15 are the next. Well, that's a product of what we call sick building syndrome. And it just we haven't been forced to address it at this level because we have herd immunity for the most part on those other strains. We don't have it for this one right now.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Can I ask what might be a dumb question? What's the difference between UVC and like UVB, UVA lights, like the tanning bed lights? Is there a difference?
There is a difference. So it's actually the wavelength that light has length, right? And so the UVC wavelength is actually the sanitation, like the sanitization that kills. Now, UVC doesn't necessarily make it through our ozone and our atmosphere, but combined with the total effect of being outside, humidity levels, things like that, that's why we're fairly safe outside. But when we're talking about indoor environment, so it actually still is harmful. So when my techs go in to install these pieces of equipment, they actually wear things that cover all their skin. They wear sunglasses or tinted, not regular sunglasses, but like think more like welding grade glasses, and they wear gloves and long sleeve shirts because you can get a burn from these lights. So when you install them, you typically install them with a kill switch on the door so that when the door to the air handler opens, it kills the lights because it is dangerous to our vision and to our skin.
So it's just strong, like a stronger.
It's a very, they call it a dosage. So it's a potent dosage that effectively kills. So a lot of times in air handlers, they build up a lot of moisture, especially in the summer as we cool them. And what likes cool, dark places? Mold, fungus, that sort of thing. So it's designed to affect those, but mold is, most strains of mold are harder to kill than a virus is. So we're lucky that the technology exists to kill the mold, which is the harder to kill stuff, and the viruses just kind of flow in with it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Andy's giving you a thumbs up, so that's good. Andy, does Stanger have anything to share? Do you got anything new? You're on mute.
No, I'm good. I'm just listening today.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining. I didn't want to skip you if you had something good to share.
A lot of good going on. Yeah, well done, Samantha.
Good. Thanks, Andy. Okay, Janae, how about you? What's new in the paint world?
There's a few products that Sherwin-Williams are one in particular that they've been working on the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, called Paint Shield. And it's typically used in a lot of hospital environments. It's not one that will kill COVID that I'm aware of, but a lot of it, once you paint the walls, then it doesn't allow those microgerms to get on the wall and stay. So it's very effective in some hospitals and some building type atmospheres as well. And then there's a product we've been using quite a bit in the commercial world called ScuffX, which helps the walls in hallways in different areas, high traffic areas that don't allow scuffing as often. It's easier to clean off, that we've been using quite a bit.
That's interesting because you always know how commercial buildings for some reason just get beat up. I don't know what people are doing in those hallways, but I don't understand why all the buildings just have beat up baseboards. It's like people like walk into a commercial building and just start kicking them. I don't know what's happening. So that's a good product. Does it have like a plastic or something in it that?
As far as the technology, Barry's probably a better person to do that, or our paint rep with it. But I know that last year at the expo, we showcased it and had people test different samples that we had with like black material and different things, and then how it, came off with it, and what the difference was if you had it and you didn't have it. And it was going to be at this one again this year, but we all know how that went. So
Next year, we'll get a really good look at it.
Yes. So between doing that and then just COVID standards that we're using, especially residential and commercial, different jobs, different things. So.
Yeah. Good share, Janae. Thank you. Okay, Nicholas, do you have anything new and wonderful to share from PAX? Is there any new?
No, actually, I really didn't come prepared. I was coming to listen.
Okay. No.
I thought it was just the two. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably not new and wonderful, I guess, but something I was just thinking of. I was actually had to step away. I was working on for customers. We do live schedules that they can share with their. So I've got a tenant finish that we're doing and a 19-unit water loss and fire rebuild. But we break every unit down into their scope and put it on a smart sheet live for them. And so the property manager, building manager can share it directly with whoever they need to show them exactly when we'll be in and when we'll be out, kind of on different parts of their jobs. So I don't know. It's probably not new. People have probably been doing that via email. We just do it live a little bit. That's about the closest thing I can think of exciting for you or for this. I mean, nothing compared to saving us from COVID, but.
I think that's cool. I think if I was managing a large project like that, along with all of the other things that go along with managing a commercial property, it would be really nice to just have one spot where I could go and send all of my employees and everybody else that needs to know about a project. I think that's great.
Yeah, and occupied apartments when we're walking in with hazmat suits and our guys aren't able to talk. I mean, they're not true in hazmat suits, but they got the respirators and everything on. So it helps minimize that confusion and communication in all these occupied apartments and stuff. So
that's nice. Yeah, how is that going to those of you that work in like apartments and residential multifamily buildings? How is that going with so many people working from home?
A lot of containment setups, because they're telling us property managers, building managers aren't wanting to move anybody. And they want to leave them there, and they're there working. You can't disturb them. So set a lot of containment. Make sure you try to set up those expectations that we're going to work. Like, give them the option, like, if you'd like us to wait or find a perfect week. But at the end of the day, your building manager says we got to get this put back together. So just try to be as convenient as possible and separate the work with some plastic and poles.
Right.
So
struggle. Well, thank you for sharing that scheduling. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Property managers, do you have anything wonderful to share? Dave, are you working on anything that's high tech or new?
Mostly just working on wrapping up a big East Village Transit Center at 12th and Charlotte downtown. It's pretty striking. And that's the major focus for me right now.
Good. That's cool. How big is it?
About 3,500 square feet. Contemporary looking design, a lot of high glass windows, canopies that extend across the site. So a lot of buses. This will be a big hub. So 10th and Main is a big hub right now, and that is going away. There'll just be a single bus stop at the street. So that whole bus transit interface for jumping on different bus routes will happen over at 12th and Charlotte now.
Nice. That's exciting. Moving along, KCATA.
Yep.
Okay. Chris, is there anything wonderful in the roofing world? Any new things?
Oh, believe it or not, so there's a couple different new roof systems out. When I say out, within the last 2 years. So one's like a wind vent roof system where there's different vent caps underneath. So it's basically for an overlay versus a new roof, which is pretty slick around here. As windy as it gets in Kansas City, that wind actually sucks the roof membrane down to the building. So that's what holds it tight. So that's one system. And then there's another system out that's literally a Velcro system. So you put insulation boards down with Velcro on them, and then the back of the membrane as the reciprocating Velcro piece, and it just sticks down. So the systems are a little more expensive on the initial product end, but where you save is really labor. So each different system has less steps in labor.
Oh. I'm intrigued by the Velcro roof.
The Velcro, I was like, no way would I want a Velcro roof. and I got a little 2x2 sample, and it sticks. It's crazy. I mean, you've got to work at it to pull it apart.
Okay, so what is that wind rated, like miles per hour versus like a standard shingle?
My question. Good job.
Oh, I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's almost double. Believe it or
The Velcro is double the
almost
shingle?
double.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Yep. It is.
Okay. That's like some real NASA Velcro.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's it in the roofing world right now.
Well, that's cool. I
Coatings.
would have never thought.
Right. They're coming out. It seems, coatings have been a big thing lately too. Just as lots of people don't have the funds to do a full re-roof, so they'll do a coating. And the coatings 5 years ago, in my opinion, were junk. And today they're superior. They're a lot better. And there's different variations from silicone to acrylic to, they add different fibers for different strengths and so forth.
So just like a clear coat that goes over.
You can do, well, there's really not a clear coat, but you can tint them. So most of them are white, just because we're in that weird part of the world where half the year we want the sun and the other half we don't. But like everything up north, they want dark roofs. So they want that heat to warm up the building. And then everything south, they want white roofs, so they want it to reflect the heat. So we're kind of in that middle territory. So we see a lot of white and a lot of gray is what we see.
So does it go on like, I'm like trying to figure out thickness, like a paint or like a tar?
It's like a paint. It's like a paint. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And you can even get warranties. You can get 5, 10, 15-year warranties with those systems.
That's cool.
Which I think is crazy, but
right.
Manufacturers stick behind them.
Right. And so like, what is the cash outlay for something like that, which is really kind of a Band-Aid? Like,
you're probably, if it's $100,000 to re-roof a normal building, if you did a coating, it's probably $70,000.
Cool.
So
how long does okay, so then if you did a full commercial roof for $100,000, I'm asking all the questions.
I got lots of noise in the background. Sorry.
Okay. So if it would be $100,000 to do the full roof and like replace the whole thing, how long would that last?
You can get a 15 or 20-year warranty.
Oh, see, that's like more than double the price, but you're still putting out 70% to do just an overlay.
So here's the difference. Here's the catch that many people don't know. So you can fully depreciate. If you do a coating, you can depreciate everything year one. Versus if you do a re-roof, you depreciate it over the time period.
Okay.
So once again, depending on cash flow and where you are, money-wise, it makes a difference.
Well, this is good to know. Thank you for sharing all those things. I had no idea about an overlay nor a Velcro roof. I think
Velcro roof.
everybody was like, what? Velcro roof? So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions? Anything else you'd like
more than anybody wanted to know about roofs and roof systems, right?
No, I love that. That's totally what this is about. I'm so glad you guys all shared. Thank you.
And Janae probably does coatings too. And, I'm sure they do it for parking garages and different, there's different variations of
Car
coating.
dealership roofs.
Right. Well, there you go. So
we do coatings also, but we don't usually recommend them on a masonry building.
Right.
Okay.
Because it traps moisture in and then it causes more problems.
Yep.
Okay.
Repeat business, Brandon.
Oh, I know. But the problem is once you put it on, it's really hard to get off.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's the same basic elastomeric kind of coating that, it's similar to what you guys would use.
Right.
Yeah. For us, it's more your big industrial metal buildings that we do the roofs and sides with.
So I did an experiment with one of the products out there, And I took it down to Lake of the Ozarks. My buddy's got a place down there, and his dock, it was crazy. Half his dock was rusted and the other half wasn't. And he's like, man, it's always hot down here. I said, I've got this great coating. So we power washed it and we coated it, and it is literally 10 or 15 degrees cooler now because it now reflects the heat. So pretty crazy that you actually could notice it.
So how much does something like that cost? Because I have a dock with a metal roof. Could maybe.
It's not cheap. I mean, that stuff's, it's $200 for a 5-gallon pail. It's not cheap.
But that's not that bad. If it's reflecting a lot of light, I don't know how big your dock roof is, but if you could get away with doing
right. I mean, that's the starting point, and it goes up from there because, like anything, there's different levels and different grades.
What would be the spread rate on that?
Pardon?
What would the spread rate be on that 5-gallon?
100. You probably get 250, 300 square feet out of that. So.
I love how technical this has become. So.
It gets technical because it's like, well, what kind of warranty can I get on that? Well, what's so depending on how thick you get it, depends on the warranty.
Right. It's like dwell time. If you don't do it the way that it says on the container, you don't get the results that the container tells you you're going to get.
I love dwell time. My wife is a spray and wipe. Like, no, you have to let it sit there.
Well, your wife and I should talk. I thought the same thing.
If it's wet, it's working.
Great.
No, we spray and we wipe. Spray and wipe.
Well.
No dwell time here.
I wasn't doing that either. Now I am. So Kolbie's saving us all from dying of dysentery.
Right.
You're welcome.
I appreciate all of your shares today. Thank you guys. If anybody wants to join us for our murder mystery, I have 2 characters left. We have a little bit of availability. It's from 4 to 6 on Thursday. If you're interested, just let me know. I'll see a lot of your faces. I know that you're already registered.
Need some more guys.
Yeah, we do need some more guys. I have a lot of
Like
women have been assigned male characters, and it's hilarious.
Janae loves it. She always gets the guy characters.
She did, and she's a punk rocker this time, and I love that.
Kolbie and I are twins.
I know. I saw that.
Yes, you are. Didn't I make you like the star of the baseball team or something? I think I actually picked yours because I know Brandon does baseball. Like his kids play baseball. So yeah. Okay, guys.
And I have the same girlfriend.
Yes. And Janae's girlfriend in the first murder mystery was played by Kathy Crossan, and she is again played by Kathy Crossan.
So what's going on there?
Right. I was like, it works out last time.
I don't kiss and tell.
That's good.
Okay, you guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.